GDP, gross domestic product, is the primary measure in which we all use to see a lot of economy. We've always known GDP doesn't capture everything. It's as a number that shows economic growth and the size of an economy. After all, when I spoke to the EU Executive Vice President Teresa Ribera in March, she was quite clear. GDP does not fully reflect Europe's prosperity.
I think that this is people that may be jealous of the high quality of life in Europe. Look what we have got in terms of expectancy of life, high quality of life, style for everybody. And in fact, we are great innovators too.
And that is the problem. So the UN set up a commission on GDP last year, tasked with designing a set of indicators to better measure, and we got the results this month. There are 30 or so other measurements. Kaushik Basu helped lead that effort as co-chair of the commission. He's an economist at Cornell University. Professor, good to see you, sir. Thank you for joining me. What a task! Even before you started, you must have known you were on a hiding to nothing. And at the end of the day, no one was going to fully agree about what should be. Once you move away from GDP, all bets are off.
Thank you very much for having me. Indeed, one of the big comforts is one had anticipated some of the reaction. But the task really was sufficiently big that right at the beginning, when the call came from the UN Secretary General's office about doing this, co-leading this, I was interested. I do believe that GDP has played a phenomenal role from 1944 to roughly now, but it is beginning to backfire. It is beginning to hide important things under this single banner, single indicator of GDP. So trying to modify it, complement it, and bring in other things is extremely important. If I may just give you one example why initially I was interested, is countries are using GDP as this one indicator which the whole country rallies around with very little attention to how it is being distributed. If the GDP goes to 5 individuals in your country, the whole country celebrates. If the GDP does damage to the future generation, GDP is still growing, you celebrate. To correct this, to move us, wean us away from this game that we are locked into, this huge animal called GDP that we are after, seemed the right thing to do, and I was happy to join in the initiative.
Right, but then of the 30 or so other barometers, which for you, and we saw a couple of them on the screen, which for you is the most significant? And, you know, accepting they're all equal at one level, which do you really, we've got human rights, sustainability, equality, inequality. What's the most important?
I should also tell you, I don't think all of them are equally important, but I won't tell you which one is more or less. But if I had to pick on 3, 4 of them, and that's the way in which I have been engaged in this. We've given you a platform of 31 indicators, but I do hope develop all of them, but give salience to a couple of them. One that I would go for is how this GDP for the entire country is distributed. And one reason why this is more urgent today, maybe over the last 10 or 15 years than it was when GDP was initially used, is for the super rich. In the olden days, yes, you did not like the fact that some people were super rich and there was poverty, but the super rich had more mansions, more yachts, more cars. Okay. Nowadays, the super rich takes over a television station, takes over a social media platform,
right,
takes over a newspaper. So the inequality is translating into a voice inequality, where it's getting concentrated at the top, the influence and the voice. So inequality is spilling over into an erosion of democracy. So number one, there should be some indicator, and there's enough discussion in our report, that something which is a correction of GDP for how it's distributed. Number two, sustainability. We are really at a dangerous stage in the world heating up, the pollution's rising. We have to think of GDP when it grows at the expense of our progenies, the future generations. We have to make corrections for that.
All right, but let me just jump in.
Yes.
Let me jump in, because at the end of the day, do you envisage being able to quote a number that would be, for example, well, GDP was X, but the country is Y on the Commission scale. Do you envisage eventually there will be a single digit or letter or point of reference that we can compare pari passu against countries?
Single digit or 2 or 3 indicators, I am keeping my fingers crossed that we will get to this out of this report, so that countries begin to play the game, not just of moving ahead of our neighboring country on GDP, but some of these 2, 3 of these critical corrected measures. Not all 31, no one will have that attention span, but 2 or 3 important ones put out regularly cross country, and people are competitive when they see a neighboring country doing better. You'll begin to compete, but compete on something good.
Thank you, Professor. And by the way, thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you. One of my producers, Josh, was a student of yours at university.
Oh,
You clearly taught him well his economics tonight, as we have evidenced by the way he's writing. Thank you, sir. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.